What are some oddly specific signs that someone's a good person? In social settings, they notice when someone is kinda left out and they find a way to include that person in the conversation or whatever fun is being had. I remember when I went out with my older sister and her friends once when I was about 15. I was pretty shy and quiet. They were all chatting about other friends and in jokes, but one of her best friends would keep taking a few seconds to explain the background to these stories or jokes to me. It was a small thing, but it brought me into the group instead of sitting and listening to a bunch of stuff I didn't get. I endeavor to do the same whenever a new person is in a group with me now. When in groups, someone interrupts you, and after they finish, that good person says X. You were saying? Showing genuine interest and compassion for getting interrupted. I am an interrupter and I appreciate when this happens. I just get so excited when I think of something that relates, I often blurt it out. I had a boss call me out on it pretty severely once and it's made me much more conscious of it. Now I catch myself doing it and stop my thought to say, "I'm sorry. I just interrupted you. Please continue." Double quote. They pick up nails, screws or sharp objects they come across from the parking lot or road so people don't get flat tires. After you've patched your own tires a couple of times, you feel like you're saving the universe when you see a screw in the parking lot at Applebee's. They say good things about people behind their backs. Everyone I know talks shitty about other people behind their backs. I've caught most everyone I know talking about me, which is why I have trust issues. Then I met my friend, Jelly Bean. We were in the office one day, obviously not recently, when one of our co-workers said something snide about me. I had my headphones on and my back was to her. I couldn't hear a thing. Jelly Bean jumped her ass. The co-worker apologized to me. I accepted it, but I had no idea what happened. Jelly Bean filled me in. I've never had anyone defend me like that. Nah. Even if they don't quite understand or relate to a topic you brought up, they ask follow-up questions. Bonus points if they don't seem particularly interested in the topic, but they still remain invested in the conversation since you're excited to talk about it. It always flusters me when I've accidentally bored someone or stalled conversation. So the fact that some try to keep it running to avoid awkward silence feels really sweet to me. When in a group of people walking, they make sure nobody gets left behind by spacing themselves between the leaders and the stragglers and keeping an eye on both. I'm the type of guy who will wait for the guide to do his laces and watch the rest of the group walk away. Then we both do the awkward jog to catch up to the group. They can admit when they are wrong about something without getting angry or defensive. I love being proven wrong. As I get older, I am fact checking more and more. I find it nice to be called out for being wrong so long as they aren't a DCK about it. It lets me learn more and usually leads to a decent discussion. Someone who remembers a tiny detail about your life or something you like and brings it up in convo much later on. I remember a little too much. I feel that's like I know the cars my co-workers drive and where they park. And if they told me their birthday and ages, I'd probably never forget that either. I know one of my co-workers takes a week-long vacation every November. I could list off lots of things, but I'm lazy lol. They look engaged when you speak to them, and are patient if you're struggling to explain something. I'm so used to feeling like I have to sell my conversation points to hold anyone's attention that someone actually asking me to expand more on my thoughts really takes me off guard. When someone noticed you were going to talk in a group but get cut off, then later they say you were about to say something. Right? Double quote. This was one of the ways I knew my boyfriend liked me before we were together lol. We had a group of chatty people, but he would ask, "Wait, what were you about to say?" Like even when it obviously wasn't important. I was new to their group. They all knew each other for a long time and often talked over me, but he always made room for me. I know my boss is a good person because he's never said anything mean about a rude client or competitive business. It's always, "Those guys do awesome work. That guy's just the best man." Quietly helping you with stuff without prompting asking for help. One caveat. The nosy intrusive mill that comes into the house and starts reorganizing furniture and silverware to her liking. Then goes into the bedroom and starts doing chores, taking the dirty laundry without being asked. If they decide they don't want to buy something, they put it back where they found it instead of just leaving on a shelf somewhere else. It's even worse when you see frozen products on ransom shelves left by people. They are basically Hitler. I once posted a life hack on my old account that when going to the grocery store it's better to park close to the cart corrals and to the entrance so that it's quicker to return the cart and leave when you're done. The comments were full of people telling me if everyone does that the cart collectors would be out of a job, and supermarket workers telling me when it's their turn to collect the carts it's the best part of their day because they get some fresh air. Had no idea how unpopular my opinion was. I say this as someone who would never abandon a shopping cart except for that one time that it was very icy and I was totteringly pregnant. Being pleasant and polite to wait staff. My friends tell me I'm too nice to wait staff. I work in customer service and know how shitty it can be. Edit. It doesn't happen often, but they're ever getting overwhelmed or I can tell they've dealt with a lot today, I'll give them the reassurance that they're doing a great job. How they treat animals when no one is looking. Especially stray animals and wildlife. Eee. That's me. I once saw a crow struggling to open a walnut. So I stopped my bike and went up to the nut to crush it. The crow waited in a tree. When it was smashed I waited a bit further and saw him go and eat it. I felt good for the rest of the day. LMAO. Not stealing money you find. A lot of people in my family have found decent amounts of cash that people have misplaced and returned it. I just would feel terrible if I lost up to a paycheck in cash and someone just swiped it. My cousin, when he was a preteen, lost his wallet in Walmart and it had the money in it to buy him a Nintendo Wii or something when they were brand new. My uncle had basically told him too bad. So sad. And when they got home, my aunt was so livid with my uncle. She drove back to the store with my cousin and Walmart made an announcement and the wallet and all the cash was returned. They let someone with only a few items go in front of them in a checkout lane if they have a full cart. They take time to hold the door for strangers when entering a building a short ways ahead of someone. They let people merge into their lane while on the interstate rather than speeding up. If they see someone looking confused in a public space, asking if they need directions. I grew up in the Midwest and eventually moved to a bigger coastal city. I never really noticed how much friendlier people were in the Midwest until I visited after a couple years of being away. I was walking around downtown trying to find a certain address when a random person walked up to me and asked if I needed help. That's when it really struck me how different the culture was where I grew up compared to where I moved. Those types of people are the best. When a person can set a positive environment. Unnecessary anecdote. Once my friends and I were playing a drinking game, Kings, where you had to make up rules that are normally supposed to make people a little uncomfy. That night, my sweet friend set a rule that you have to give a compliment before each turn. 20 people ended up crying, supporting each other, and reminding everyone of their worth. That's a good person. And that goes down as my favorite college memory. If they are nice to random kitty cats. I totally befriended the neighborhood stray who won't go near anyone and she's been living in the area for 3 years now. Pretty sure she was spayed and released because she's got a tiny chunk missing from her ear and I've heard that's related to catch and release. So I feel bad that it gets super cold in the winter and also feel bad that I can't bring her inside because she doesn't get along with one of my dogs. So I'm dropping $200 on a kitty tube to keep her warm this winter as soon as I get paid. People that say sorry too much tend to be very nice in my experience. Like they're not out to hurt anyone. Just trying to get by without making life difficult for others. At least that's how I felt. But I'm working on it. I also made it a personal mission to correct people when they say sorry for anything except something that deserves the word. Like please never apologize for speaking your mind again. Whoever made you feel small in the past can go FCK themselves. When conflict arises, they seek peace by being introspective. In addition, They seek to resolve the dispute directly with that person as opposed to gossiping or triangulating. They actually see and engage with misfit people who are different or awkward, and they genuinely seem interested in knowing them. They are willing to give them a chance. I have 2 friends who are some of the best, kindest people, and every time I go to an event they are hosting, I meet the most interesting people who would normally be overlooked or avoided. Often people who are down on their luck and have no family. I've become friends with some of these people by extension. And despite being something of an introvert and fairly shy, I try to follow my friend's example and be open-minded and welcome and engage with all kinds of people. It doesn't bother me if they don't have perfect social skills. I look for signs of kindness in their hearts. When you're walking together and someone is slower, they match that person's pace and wait if a crosswalk is ticking down until the next cycle. It's amazing how few people will do this, and how many will simply keep going, not noticing that someone else has fallen behind. Kind of related. And I don't think this is me being nice, but if I'm at a crosswalk with an elderly person or someone who is unable to walk quickly and the countdown clock is ticking away, and I know the light will change before the other person gets to the other side, I'll slow my walk down so I'm sort of walking with them or at a similar pace. I feel so paranoid that some impatient or unaware driver will honk at them or start driving before they get onto the sidewalk safely. Drivers in my city are kind of assholes. Nice to animals. Even more specific. Request consent from animals. I know it sounds strange, but when you go up to a dog that doesn't know you, you shouldn't just start petting it. Let it sniff your hand. If its nose or tongue doesn't make contact, don't pet it. It doesn't know you well enough yet. It's not that comfortable. Same with cats. And all animals actually. Just hang out and talk to it. Let it sniff you some more later on. It does wonders to build trust, and watching someone have that courtesy and patience is pretty profound. People that run towards trouble. There's videos where bombings happened, or someone could be heard yelling rape or similar, and you see folks running towards the trouble instead of away from it. Those folks set aside their mortality, their demands from the world, to rush to the aid of someone else. They always remember to pay you back without having to be reminded. If you loan them money, when I loan my friends money, I do so with the expectation that I won't get it back, so I never give out more than I can afford, and I don't get disappointed if I don't get it back. So I never remind people and just have the attitude of, if I get it back, that's cool. If not, that's fine too. Most of my friends know this about me, and the ones that always pay me back happen to be the nicest in the group. Sticking around and showing up when your friend is in a bad way, even if they have been in a bad way from a long time. You don't have to cook them food every night, but check in so they know you care about them. After experiencing a tragedy, I realized how fair weather the majority of the people I had in my life were. It doesn't make me angry so much as sad and disillusioned. When they don't kill bugs in their home just because it grosses them out. I had a teacher who would get pissed if you killed a bug in his room. When we asked him why he cared so much, his response was, "That bug is a living creature, and because you feel icky about it, you feel entitled to end an entire life." That stuck with me since then. And when I see someone now that doesn't kill even the scariest spider, I know there's good in them. When you meet them on a dating app, then they ghost you for a few days, then come back and explain why they ghosted you, and didn't mean harm by it but had major life problems going on. It shows good character to take responsibility for your mistakes, apologize, and make up for them. You're absolutely right. But I wouldn't even categorize that as a mistake on their part. They had some situation that took precedence over a new person in their life that they barely know, but they're aware that it was still an inconvenience to you, even if it was justified. They communicate well. Someone who isn't passive aggressive, but mature and honest. Those people have worked on themselves in order to be better for other people. I respect communication so much. One day I hope to get there. Not really specific, but someone who moves instinctively to help others. Like if someone's groceries start to fall and someone immediately moves to help pick them up. I'd watch first. See if they really need help. And if the situation wasn't detrimental to me, then I'd help. You can tell by the way they treat homeless people. I gave a local homeless guy $20 once. Now every time I walk by he asks for more. I just ignore him now. Even if that makes me bad. I did my part. There's hundreds of other people passing him daily. My brother always wears this fanny pack that has extras that people might need. Safety pins. Napkins. Toothpicks. Wet naps. Tampons. Pads. A lighter. Cigarettes. He doesn't smoke. Common earplugs. Notepaper. Golf pencils. Floss. EpiPen. Band-aids. Just in case anyone should need anything in a pinch. Honestly, not killing pests bugs when it isn't absolutely necessary. My dad is the most kind-hearted person I know. He relocates my snake spiders. Whatever. He puts them in a bucket and takes them out to the desert to let them go. I'm legit struggling at the moment. Reading some of these are making me feel like I'm not such a terrible human after all. There's so much bad stuff reported on the news and shared on Facebook. Reddit is one of the very few places I can switch out to and end up feeling like life isn't so bad. I hope you're seeing many indications that you're a good person too. They do nice things without telling others or even taking credit. For example, a family friend I've known for about a decade cooks about 50 to 100 meals every weekend. All out of her pocket. For her church that distributes them to homeless people and shelters around town. They're nice meals too. Like rice. Potatoes. Pasta. With meats and salads. Bread. Something sweet. All big plates. Well, apparently she's been doing that for years and years. Every weekend. And the only reason my family found out is because the church got a Facebook page and tagged her in a picture of the meals. She never talks about it. And when we finally asked her, all she said was, "You just gotta help your brothers and sisters." Double quote. This is going to be buried. But shout out to my friends when in a grocery store. They later decide they don't want said item they picked up previously. Return to its proper location instead of leaving the frozen chicken on a mound of flaming hot Cheetos. They don't complain to you about other people. They might ask for advice or suggestion or express frustration about someone. But they stop short of dumping on you about someone else. They beat the bully Jimmy up. Breaking 198 bones in his body. Hide his body in the woods to never be found. After he makes fun of your glow-in-the-dark sneakers and saying that puppies are gross. I have a pretty bad neurological speech impediment. For me, it's pretty easy to split good people from bad people. If a person actually waits for me to speak without cutting me off or straight out ignoring me. Putting the grocery cart in the grocery cart receptacle even when no one is looking. Saying thank you to the person checking and the person bagging your groceries. Once I was telling this guy a story. He was listening with all his attention. 2/3 of the way through I realized I had already told it to him and asked him why he didn't stop me. He said, "You were having so much fun telling it." That is an extra nice person. I felt a bit foolish, but he made me feel like he just genuinely cared. They want to have unlimited funds so they can use it to help others. Unfortunately, being a good person keeps one from obtaining such near unfathomable sums of money in the first place. Text me so I know you've gotten home safely. And then they proceed to text you if you forget to let them know. Also, people who wait for you to get inside safely before they drive off. They keep their movie theater seat and surroundings clean instead of just dropping garbage all around. They also at least try to not order food when the joint is minutes away from closing. That goes for shopping in general. It's part of the game for sure, but when you're 5 minutes away from closing time and clients comes in to be served 2 full meals, it can be a bit unpleasant. Treating people below them with respect. Especially financial class. Using body language to not be intimidating to smaller, weaker people. helping colleagues that are below you, doing more than is expected at work, speaking up instead of down to the owner of the corner shop, saying thank you to security and attendants, etc., de-escalating conflict, standing up to prejudice. The problem is this type of person can also be a pushover if they're too nice. This whole thread has me confused. I feel like 90% of people are reading this thinking they are an ungodly nice person, when I think people are setting the bar rather low for what constitutes a non-shitty person. How many people claim them as a best close friend? Both my boyfriend and my best friend, lol, have probably 4 people who, if asked, would say they are my best friend. Each of them treats their friends as if they are the most important people in their lives. When I was 18 I had a car accident and it was clearly my fault. I moved into another lane without using turning signals and I somehow assumed I was the only one on that street, so I didn't even look back. Nobody was hurt but the cars were damaged. The other driver was calm, treated me with respect and, since I was upset, even brought me in a cafe and ordered a piece of cake and a hot chocolate for me and he paid. He handed his phone to me, telling me I would feel better if I told someone of my family or a friend. So, basically, understanding that people make mistakes and not being a DCK with someone who is sorry and it is not running away from their responsibility, and care for strangers having difficulties. It feels comfortable to be around them. Like, they always make you feel included, and you can be yourself around them. They make jokes that don't put anyone down, and they listen to and engage with what you are saying. My brother is like this. I have found only a few other people who are. People who are respectful to folks who work in retail, food service, and customer service. People who are proficient in knowing how to talk to kids and teenagers and show sincere interest in these conversations. People who are genuine and learning about your hobby or passion, even if it is completely out of their scope of knowledge. Anybody who is the opposite of any of the above 3, I immediately clock them as people I don't get too invested in, if I can't avoid them. That they are specifically my mom. All that woman does is cater to everyone and anyone all day. Every day 365. She checks all the comment boxes, except one I read. Something about beating up a bully, hiding his body. Doubt she's done that. Whose knows though? I had run-ins, but not say I was ever bullied. Kind of weird, but people who don't complain when other people are walking slow. I think you have an awful character if you're willing to curse out someone you're walking behind, especially if it's an elderly person or a child, if they are walking slowly in the street or corridor. Just suck it up and be patient. Pretty much anything that requires integrity. If I see people doing good without the promise of praise or threat of consequence, then they usually have very good character. That's one of the reasons I hate humble bragging so much. Some people may genuinely be nice, but it comes off as self-praise more so than genuine kindness. They eat candy, and they tip people who don't usually get tips. Like the garbage collector or the essential service employee who disregards stupid code to make your life easier. That guy deserves a Ben Franklin. Give the man what he deserves. They stop their car to help the turtle cross the road so it doesn't get hit. And they always make sure to only move it in the same direction it was originally going. Someone who refuses to kill insects and carefully avoids stepping on ants. I'm not a fan of insects myself, but I always gently trap and release. They're living beings. 2, 3. They wait until everyone is served before they start eating. This one is confusing. Almost everyone I've eaten with has always strongly insisted that it was okay for me to go ahead without them if my food came first. It's like, am I nice by fulfilling your request and digging in? Or by going against your wishes and waiting politely? People who treat retail and hospitality workers with respect. People don't treat their parents like shit. A good sign is how they treat animals, but recently I've come across someone who secretly picks up pieces of rubbish, and if there isn't a big nearby he puts it in his pockets or holds it until he can find a bin. How someone treats people they don't have to be nice to. Restaurant workers, with respect. And I don't mean that in the sense that they don't deserve respect. I mean it in the context that there's supposedly an idea out there that you don't have to be nice to them. Another sign is how they treat animals. Treating homeless people like human beings. I fell hard in love with my so when we were on a date and a homeless guy asked for some money for food. Oh, we are just going into McDonald's right now. Come eat with us. Bought his meal and we sat together and heard his story. Sent him off with a pack of ciggies with a few notes of cash tucked in the back. Get approached while we are going to the convenience store. Come on. Choose what you want to eat. We are grabbing drinks. Do you drink? Choose a beer. Here. Grab another for later. Let's hang out on this street corner and drink our beers together. Double quote. He would give his last penny to someone who asked, and it is always an act of sharing. Not just cold charity. I have a hard time with people who want to hoard the conversation. Within a group usually. Some of my friends are loud. Some are quiet, and if you continue butting in or take attention away, I'll hold up the one finger that is universal for give me 1 second while this thought is finished and I will continue with you when it is your turn. Take it or walk away, I'll be fine either way. My boyfriend is so honest, he doesn't pick up on when other people are lying. Or when they say things they don't really mean. Like if he runs into an old acquaintance who says we should catch up sometime. He'll take this very seriously and proceed to follow up with plans. He hates games involving deception like Among Us. Because he'll cave immediately. And when I've teased him about being gullible, he said it's because he's never expecting that someone would be dishonest. If they said it, it must be true. Double quote. They do good acts when they know nobody is watching, including behavior on the internet. When anonymous, and when they are in a hurry under stress. Sometimes people can be dismissive or abrupt when they are busy. But somehow these people maintain their demeanor and try to be helpful even when they are stressed. Consideration for and not inconveniencing others is part of their makeup. They find a way to make you feel better about something even if you know they disagree or you are the one in the wrong. I have a friend who always does this. It doesn't matter if I said I punched my nan in the face. She would say something like, I understand why you're upset with yourself, and yes, it was not a nice thing to do. But, and then find something to say to help. It sounds obvious, but lots of people don't actually do this. It requires a person to be genuinely kind and empathetic. My wife said she knew I was a good guy when her parents' dog wanted to be my pal right away. Apparently he usually took time to warm up to new people. They do things they believe may benefit others. Whether anyone's watching or not. Even if no one will ever know it was them. You can also tell a lot about a person by how they treat people who serve them, i.e. retail workers, waiting staff, and those within their command, employees, pets etc. People who let you into their lane when they see your turn signal, especially in the city. They thank people working at a grocery store, gas station, etc. going out of their way to be inclusive to someone who's new to a job. If a cashier gives them too much money as change, they give it back. My neighbor does this regularly and she is a great person. The woman I share a house with keeps the money. And she is a horrible person who doesn't pay her share of the bills. They defend the person being talked about. When people are speaking ill of someone, they offer a defense in what may be motivating that person. I've known two great people who did this. And sadly I only recognized it after they had passed on. Reflecting back on their lives, I realized I never once heard them speak ill of another person and recalled how they deflected toxic discussions. Laughs at themselves. Does what needs to be done without being asked, and whether or not anyone is watching. Picks up trash that isn't theirs. Puts the shopping cart back in the parking lot cart corral every time. Sees themselves as important but not more important. It's funny to me reading all these reasons, acknowledging reasons why I'm a good person. But knowing that it's coming from a lot of people that would hate me for certain beliefs and opinions I hold. Kinda dumb, but people who pick up spiders, bugs in the house and place them outside rather than squashing them. I suppose good treatment of animals as a whole. People are mentioning a whole bunch of conversational etiquette and skills, which is great but really has no correlation to being a good person. Psychopaths also have great conversational skills and sociability. People who engage, even if it's just a brief exchange of kind words, with homeless, beggars, street vendors, etc. Despite not having spare change. I can't stand to see people walking past people in need, looking away and pretending they don't exist. They're human beings, for Christ's sake. Man, I feel like this post belongs in one of those wholesome subreddits. Because the comments are all making me feel really happy about the tiny little things people do. Good people are the best and sometimes get so overlooked. But they still do their thing. Making the world better one action at a time. When someone gets cut off from talking by someone else, and then after the person is done talking, someone will ask what the person was gonna say or think before getting cut off. When they finished renovating their house and they give you their Makita auto feed screwdriver with a few boxes of screws because it won't sell for much and you are putting up plaster sheets and it would make your job heaps easier. How they talk about treat homeless people. I used to see this guy every Friday on the corner of the highway and would give him water. One day he just stopped showing up and I haven't seen him in nearly a year. I told a few friends about how devastating it was not knowing where he was or if he was okay, and some of them brushed it off saying he probably just overdosed, BC he's a bum or dumb shitty like that. Haven't spoken to that person again. When people curse out those who are being rude or mean to customer service folks because they know we can't say shit. I remember being yelled at when I was 17. Standing behind the cash register not really knowing what to do. And this old woman smacked the dude yelling at me with her purse and asked him where his manners were. He left real quick. People who love animals. I don't mean keeping them as pets. They are the ones who get the urge to pet or play with any animal they come across. They get distressed when an animal is in distress. These people, when they care enough to give you their full attention and be interested in something that's dear to you. Even if it bores them or they can't relate to it. Putting one's phone device away when conversing with someone goes a long way in showing that you care. Okay, so in Denmark there is a lot of people who meet up at the town hall square in Copenhagen on New Year's Eve and look at light fireworks and party. The next day, as you can imagine, it's a mess. But the last few years an organization called Muslims for Peace have met up and cleaned the square on the 1st of January. This to me is so cool. Not having joined or taken part of the party, they still meet up every year and clean up after the rest of us. A good person is someone who is kind to everyone, thinks that everyone who is equal, poor, rich, men, women, and treats them equally, and doesn't shout at you even when you try to trigger him or her. Shout at him or her, then he doesn't ask you for anything, he helps you, and when he doesn't have anything he or she will try to help you in any way her or she can. That's when you know that person is good. The shopping cart return scale. Person leaves a cart wherever they unloaded equals bad person. Person pushes it up on a curb path equals okay, at least ya got it out of the way. Person moves it to a nearby cart return equals doing the right thing. Person moving it to a cart return even though it is far away equals right on guy girl. Person returns it to the store equals solid dude dudette.